I'm going to turn it over to Kim so that she can share with us how it came about, what does it do, how it works, and how we can participate. So thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you, Sister Ann. Good afternoon. It's good to be with you all today. I recognize some faces and I see some new faces. So I'm going to give you the nickel version of how all this happened. Back in 2008, I was planning events. And so I was with Sister Kathy McCluskey, Sister of St. Joseph of Boston. And we were searching for a hotel for their Federation event. And she said, Kimberly, we want a hotel that, takes a stance against sex trafficking. And I said, Sister Kathy, we're not in a third world country. And she said, no, this happens here. And I had no idea. So I went home and I did what any good person would do. I Googled it. And what I discovered was that sex trafficking was happening in our very own backyard. Now, Next Conference and Meeting Management is a meeting planning company, and our primary niche are the U.S. Catholic Sisters. We plan for all different orders of sisters. We plan for all different events. We do a few events for the priests too. We take it all on. But our primary client is U.S. Catholic Sisters. We search for their hotels. We help them sign their contracts. We plan all the events there. We plan their sleeping rooms. And what dawned on me was that we were searching these hotels where sex trafficking was happening, where we were spending the sisters' money, and we couldn't do it. We had to be good stewards of the sisters' money. And so Sister Kathy introduced me to it. So when a sister tells me to do something, I can't say no. So I worked and we found a hotel that agreed to sign the then ECPAT, Child Protection Code of Conduct. They're calling themselves PACT now, P-A-C-T. So I worked with ECPAT and I worked with the sisters, and the Millennium Hotel in St. Louis signed the Code of Conduct. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but what I realized was that when we trained the staff, the hotel staff, on the red flags of sex trafficking, because that's one of the criteria for the ECPAT Code of the Child Protection Code of Conduct, is that the staff, they were so grateful. They appreciated it because they were seeing it, because they some had experienced it themselves, and there was actually recognition, and we were able to empower them to go to management, and management to go to law enforcement to bring awareness to this, and so that we could stop it. And once we did it at one hotel, we knew we had to do it at all hotels. So one of our social responsibility clauses is that we will, in our request for proposals, we will put a clause that says, are you aware of the Child Protection Code of Conduct? If you're not aware of it, will you sign the ECPAT Code of Conduct? And would you like to be trained on the red flags of trafficking? Because that's now something we can do. We talked to ECPAT and we said, as a meeting planning company, we should be signing this code, and we should make a commitment to bring awareness to the hotels. And they said, well, you don't fit the criteria. We're women owned and operated, and you just don't tell us no. We work for the sisters, and we know justice has to prevail. So we went to their corporate office in Thailand, and we said, we want to become the first meeting planning company to sign this code of conduct. We'll help you write it. And that's exactly what we did. And since then, numerous meeting planning companies, including Merritt's right here in St. Louis, which is one of the larger meeting planning companies, have signed the ECPAT code and now require their hotels to be members of the code before we spend our money there. This kind of stirred up a little hubbub along the way. There was an article in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, which led to an article on CNN, which led to an interview on CNN, and it blew up. It was what everybody was talking about, and we are meeting planners. I know how many gallons of coffee you all will drink. I know what kind of screens and hearing devices you need, but I had no idea how to do media. I had no idea that this was going to take on a life of its own. So I knew if I was going to do those things, I needed to know more. And so I started working with the Human Trafficking Task Force commander in St. Louis. I work with a survivor and the founder of the Covering House. And back in the day, it was just little tiny organizations, and we were trying to do what we could. And I worked with them. I actually have been able to have the opportunity to go out on the streets, to work with victims, to be on rescues, and see the need and see what was really happening, and to work with children and, you know, in foster care and educate them on some of the red flags. And what we found was that everything's coming in through the computer, everything's coming in through their telephone and their apps and things like this. And so we wanted to make a difference. We wanted to spread that word as we were doing all of our media outreach. In the process, once our name kind of got out, we started getting phone calls. What we discovered was we sell a lot of hotels, obviously. Hundreds a year. We look at hundreds of years through our RFPs and things like that. So as we had visited so many hotels, we would go to backpage.com and we could recognize the hotel rooms that these children and women were being sold out of. Some cases, I could tell which floor it was on just by the pictures that were being shown. Well, that ended up getting featured. And so we started getting calls at the office, and they were saying, my daughter's being sold. She's this picture on backpage.com. Can you identify this hotel? That case, it was actually one of the no-tell motels on the side of the road, so to speak, not one we would use for a conference. So the owners, Molly Hackett and Jane Quinn at the time, and I, who had daughters that were 12 and 13 years old, the average age of entry into the sex trade at that time, we realized we needed more. And that earlier that day, we were complaining because our kids were on their phone and all they're doing is taking pictures, and we never should have gotten them a phone. And at that moment, when that phone call came in, we thought, we need more pictures of more hotels. How do we do this? Everybody has their cell phone all the time. So how do we use their cell phone to help fight sex trafficking? It's this theory of citizen science. You are a citizen. It can't cost you anything. You just go out and send us the picture. But how does that happen? And that brings us to the TraffickCam. So in the whole process of all of this happening, I was able to get the Director's Leadership Award from the FBI. And there was a student at Washington University who was working in computer sciences. She was able to connect because she had gotten an FBI award for her, it's kind of like facial recognition for objects, so to speak. And she said, we can help you do this. So we connected. We call things like that totally Holy Spirit at Nix. So we were able to work with her, and we developed the TraffickCam. The TraffickCam is a smartphone app that, I know you all can hear my puppy barking. I'm so sorry. The TraffickCam is an app that you can download free onto your cell phone, and you'll use it to take pictures of your hotel room. I'm going to share my screen, maybe. So, after the pandemic, I think I'll go ahead and just announce that Nix works from home now. Okay. All right. Maybe we're not going to share the screen. We are here. Hold on 1 minute. Okay, so the TraffickCam app is actually, this is the logo that you'll find on your telephone. So when you go to the App Store, you're going to search TraffickCam, and the Exchange Initiative logo will come up. The Exchange Initiative is actually a secondary division of Nix that we established because we were getting so many phone calls and because we were getting so many inquiries. We had to separate the companies. So this is the Exchange Initiative app, and this is where you'll find it on your Android or in the Apple Store. So the TraffickCam app has actually progressed from taking photos of your hotel room to taking photos of the icons, the actual items in there. The TraffickCam has been able to, excuse me 1 more minute. The TraffickCam app is started with just the pictures of the hotel room. But what we discovered was that once Backpage shut down, we no longer just had the hotel rooms. Now the pictures were getting closer up. The pictures were getting closer, and then we didn't have like the large portion of the hotel rooms anymore. Now we were getting close-ups of the bedspread, close-ups of the chair, close-ups of the lamps, different things instead of the pictures that were further back. We started working with NCMEC in 2013, and they use the app every day. NCMEC is the National Center for Missing Exploited Children. They use it for child pornography and for child sex trafficking. We actually have had hits on 1,344 cases just this year. This is not only through NCMEC, but it's also through the FBI Human Trafficking Task Force and through law enforcement agents that call in directly. We haven't given free reign of the app to everyone yet. It's not the easiest to use on the back end. You have to be very meticulous. And so we are still taking those victim photographs and running them through the database ourselves. The back end of the database, hold on, I'm going to make sure I'm sharing the right thing this time. All right, is everybody looking? There we go. So the TraffickCam backend, this is something that I haven't shown before. What we do is we take photos of hotels. So far, we have 10,264,818 photographs in our database. We have over 500,000 of those pictures are taken from those people who have uploaded the app to take photos of their hotel room. We have so far 624,492 hotels in the United States in the database. So we have a wide variety of hotels from, you know, the smaller hotels that maybe you take your kids to soccer tournaments to and you stay at the Super 8 or a Motel 6, to the Waldorf in Orlando and to some of the more exclusive hotels. So when we get a picture of a victim, we have a lot of ground to cover. So what we do is the law enforcement or the team at TraffickCam will they'll upload a photo. Sometimes, again, they're very close. Sometimes they're pictures of the hotel room. Like I said, this is facial recognition for a hotel. So it's going to pull the data points. It's going to see the corners of the bed headboard. It's going to see the lamps in the room. It's going to see the patterns on the chair. So you'll upload your image and then you can search keywords: chair, curtain, lamp, or you can just select your location and search the whole room. So you can also put your zip code or your city in. And what's going to happen is you're going to actually white out, you can actually draw on this, and you are going to white out the victim or anything that doesn't belong in the hotel room, the luggage, things like that. So you will white that out, and then you will go ahead and you will search. And you can, the filters will come on. So if you're just searching for a lamp or you're just searching for a chair, those things will come on. You'll then get your results. So the digital recognition will pull in all of the hotels that have things that match your search. If you know where it is, if you know what city or state it's in, it helps narrow that search down. You'll get your results, and each hotel is labeled and it tells you what hotel it is, and you're asked to put your room number in when you take the photographs. So it's beautiful because there have been times we can even kind of narrow it down to a floor or to a specific room. And a lot of times different rooms have different items, you know, or different bedding or different towels and things like that. A lot of photographs can be taken in the bedroom as well. So then you generate a report. I will say that we do not capture any of your information as people are downloading it. We're not interested. We don't want it. You all can't be, nobody can be associated with a case. And then you can also bulk upload images. So it kind of pulls the line. It's very detailed when it pulls the information. So that is the TraffickCam. I'll go ahead and open the floor for questions now.
And it would be like a lot easier for me if you would use the raise your hand option, and then we can call on you, and then we don't have people speaking over one another. Okay, Rose.
That's Rose.
Yeah, we introduced the TraffickCam at our last fundraiser in the spring here. And we had even a young teenager to help all of us old people that couldn't get into it to get into it. And the problem was a lot of the older people that did go out to the hotels still had a lot of problems with the TraffickCam. And I don't know if that was, like you said, that you hadn't really extended it too far. I'm not sure if that was our fault or.
Tell me about the problem. So we got a $1 million grant, and we took TraffickCam from just taking pictures of rooms to taking pictures of the items. And it went through a huge system update. It's actually about to go through another huge system update. And there is on the app a place for you to let support know when there are issues. So what problems were you having?
Now, I personally didn't have them. A friend of mine had, they went on vacation and she was at the fundraiser. She took pictures of her hotel room and just couldn't, she took the pictures and couldn't get it to go anywhere. So she had her young daughter and sister, I don't know, a whole bunch of young people trying to help her, and it still didn't go through. So I can't get anything specific, but I can get it for you.
Okay, it'd be great if we knew what they were, because we have to know about the bugs to
Sure.
fix the bugs, and obviously we're pretty good at it. So, and we do use it, at least, you know, the next team is on the road at least once a month, if not more. So, any issues we would love to know about, and I can share my email at the end of this as well, so that you can report those directly to me, because if we don't know about it, we can't fix it, and we definitely want it to be working perfectly.
We were super excited about it because finally it was something that we could do, you know, personally do and be active in doing it. So we were super excited. So when I go to Chicago for the convention, I'm going to be shooting pictures. So we'll see.
Maybe we can have a walkthrough on one of the breaks and Kim can show us how to shoot pictures.
Man,
There you go.
we can.
Okay, so Kate had a question and she said, can you please share again how many cases this program has assisted with and how can they promote this to local law enforcement?
So we've so far this year it's 1,344. And so promoting it to local law enforcement is something we're doing on our end. So you can let them know that the traffic cam is there and it exists, and we are, you can contact traffic cam support and we will run any of the photographs for you. We're currently in talks with the FBI Human Trafficking Task Force, National Human Trafficking Task Force, and we were able to demo the database to them, and they were so excited about it. And so we need boots on the ground, someone like the FBI who can actually go out and take it out to the law enforcement and train them. For those of you who worked with law enforcement, you know their patience, and I love my Leo. I do. They are the greatest group of people ever, but they have zero patience. And if it doesn't work the first time, you know, like Rose was talking about, they're done. And if, you know, if it's user error, like I said, you have to be very detailed when you are hiding those images. So you can let them know the traffic cam exists and we're happy to run any images for them.
Okay, I think Kara was next.
Hi, thank you so much for this wonderful app. Also, when I first discovered it, and it feels like 10 years ago, but my husband did most of the traveling. I stayed at home, so I would make him do it.
Thank
and
you.
then and then when we would travel, I would do it. And I would say that in the beginning, I would be like, Chris, would you help me with this? So that was confusing in the beginning. This last year, I have found it to be easier.
Good.
So give it another try. I'm excited to hear about the objects. I haven't gotten to where I've used it and been able to take pictures of objects. The other thing, it's kind of funny, my whole family has to sit down and stay out of the way while I take pictures, so I don't let them unpack. So they always know what I'm doing. At this point in my life, everyone thinks I'm crazy because I have so many rituals for traveling, eating, shopping. You guys know, you gals know. So that's okay. Be crazy and have fun with it. My question was, can you do this outside of the US, or is it just USA, not Canada, not?
No, not yet. We just don't have the funding to do it. You know, we focus on, you know, the NIJ gave us the first $1 million. We're working with, we're trying to leave the money to assist survivors alone. We don't want to touch that money. The survivors need the money after doing the work on the streets. I know that. And so we're trying to go more to DC, more to Department of Justice, more to computer science, and try and get the money that way.
Also, I was going to show you guys my little on my phone, but I guess it had closed down, so it has to open up. But the other question I had, did I just forget it? I think I did. It'll come back to me and I'll raise my hand again. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Kate she has a continuing question with the law enforcement. Is there a simple one-page flyer that can be distributed to law enforcement agencies? We're working with the law enforcement agency to promote human trafficking resources that other law enforcement agencies have used successfully.
There is not, but that can be created.
Okay, now I have a question. My
Mhm.
hand's not raised, but that's okay. So when I explain this app to a lot of people, I often say, and maybe I'm saying this erroneously, that your algorithm can pick up, like if I'm in a particular hotel room and there is like a tear in the wallpaper or something, it can grab onto that and say, this is this hotel room in this city and state. Can it do that? Like there's this
Correct.
water
Yeah.
stain on the wall, or so it's beyond just the objects in the room. It's the unique identifying factors. Yes.
Yes, it absolutely is. So think of, every picture is made up of pixels, little polka dots. So the app picks up on the polka dots. It's not looking at the picture as a whole. It is digitally reading each of those polka dots. And so, yes, those tears in the lamp, the tears in the wallpaper, the different variations in bedding from room to room. Yes, it picks up on all of that. And we get more correct hits from the pictures taken by the citizens than by the pictures we get from Travelocity or we get from a hotel website. The hotel websites, everything's neat and pristine and clean. So we actually get more appropriate hits when we get the pictures from the citizens that take them.
I think Sally Ann had a question.
Yes, I'm in Green Bay and we have the Packers that have home games here, but the hotel managers have really also indicated, this was way back in the mid last decade, but they would say it happens here every weekend. It's not only when there are Packer games or whatever. I was wondering if there's a way of collaborating with the hotels to be able to get their cooperation to go in and take pictures.
So
not just when you're somebody who has reserved the room.
So we actually we had an anti-trafficking group in Michigan do this, and that was kind of what their group did. They went to the different hotels and asked if they could take pictures of their hotel room for the app and made them aware of what they were doing. And it really was eye-opening for them, because the hotels that agreed, when they knew what they were doing, the hotels really wanted to find it, but there were hotels that did not want them to take pictures. So then you just say, you send somebody else in and say, you're looking, you want to see a room because you're going to host a group, and then you take the pictures anyway. But it was very interesting to see the hotels that didn't want them to take the photographs. So that is a great activity for coalitions in your area to do. We also have the hotel company ALHI, ALHI. They actually have encouraged all of their salespeople to take photographs of all of their hotels for us. And the staff members actually got an award for whoever took the most pictures of the hotel rooms. And so there's several ways to do it. To enlist the hotel to be empowered to take these pictures, brings an awareness to them. But for something for your coalition or your group to do that's kind of boots on the ground, getting pictures of the hotels in these areas is a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, and it looks like Kara remembered her question.
I may or may not. One real quick comment besides my question is, even places like Disney World, I hate to say it, are good places. Don't think, oh, I wouldn't be able to take a picture here. It couldn't happen here. But yeah, sadly, that's probably more likely that it might happen there. But I wanted to ask you if you've ever heard of Thorn with Ashton Kutcher's organization. They are supposed to be investing millions and millions, and I don't know, I haven't heard about them in a while, but in the past years, I have heard that they were doing a lot of stuff like this and using technology to find victims.
Yes, we were actually in communication with them. We've had conversations with them. And I think that our app developers, our computer scientists, were kind of going a different direction than they were. And you're right, I haven't heard about them in a very long time. And this was years and years when we were like just getting off the ground with the app that we did talk to Thorn. And so they were going on like they were just going a different direction. They wanted to get pictures of people coming into hotels and things like that, and that was just something we weren't interested in. We weren't able to handle that. But yes, they are a great group. And when you said Disney hotels, Jared, the subway guy, when he was caught for the Waldorf and the Ritz-Carlton in New York. And so when I go in and I talk to general managers, so many times I get, we're a resort property. Those things don't happen here. And so the Jared Fogle thing was a game changer because it really does happen everywhere in every city, in most hotels. I can't imagine that it doesn't happen in a hotel, but when there's a citywide in and you have all these people coming in, the traffickers are going to go to that location. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
There is not anywhere that's immune to sex trafficking.
Yeah, my niece actually reported to her mom, who called about Captain America at the time. This is years ago, working at Disney, met with one of the, kids at the Disney park. And my niece, they called the police, but Captain America meeting one of, her friends. It never happened, thank goodness, but he, you could probably look it up. I haven't looked it up in years, but he got arrested or convicted of some sort of child,
Right.
So, but yeah, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
taking this on.
All right, and Victory.
Kim, I'm assuming that you've worked with the American Hotel and Lodging Association and the state ones as well. And that's how I first became acquainted with the hotels that say, trafficking is not good for business. At least for the reputable ones, it's just not, so they don't want it on their property. And the ones in our area have taken it on and want their staffs trained. And this would be a wonderful addition to that training. So thank you for the app. It's a wonderful resource.
And they have actually, the Hotel and Lodging, they actually created a video that I recommend. It got to the point where I was trying to train the hotels as we went, and we just didn't have the woman power to do that. And so they actually made a great video that we still recommend to this day for training their staffs on the red flags of sex trafficking. And that's something else to think about. This was born from, an idea from some soccer moms at the time, but it's still our responsibility as we walk into a hotel. Every hotel we go to, as you're checking in at the front desk. Now, the front desk agent isn't going to know much. The post-COVID, it's a different world, and the staffs are, there's a big turnover. And while Hilton, Hyatt, and Marriott all have signed the code and they train their staffs, you still have to go with the general manager. So even though we might have signed a contract 3 or 4 years ago, before we go into each event, I make sure that their staffs were trained on the red flags to make sure that they were trained this year. because they're supposed to train at least yearly. And so, you know, you should, all of the people you come in contact with as they enter a hotel, they too should ask that question. Have you been trained on the red flags of sex trafficking? Can I talk to your general manager, your director of operations, to see what that training is? You know, if we're part of this group, the U.S. Catholic Sisters Against Human Trafficking, it's something we should be doing at every hotel, is taking it that next level.
There was a request that you share the link to the video that you
Okay.
referenced in hotel training for the red flags.
You know what? I'll send it to you, Katie.
Okay. We'll throw it in our next member newsletter.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah.
One of the other things that I learned when I was doing some hotel trainings is that sometimes the staff, and we were training staff, they've seen it, they know what it is. They're afraid to report it because they think they will get in trouble. So it really does take that coordination with the general manager, with some assurance to all staff. You need to tell me, and you will not lose your job. And if you don't tell me, that's more of a risk than if you do tell me. So, and that, I hadn't even thought about the fact that they'd be worried about losing their job because they reported something negative going on there.
And I mean, there are hotels. We're in St. Louis, Missouri, and we have Highway 70, which is a corridor to the airport. And on any given day, you know, we've had to go in one hotel 3 or 4 times because it's just so blatant, and they don't want you there, and they don't want you saying the words out loud because that's a big part of their business. You know, this is where they're making their money. And so, it is important. And there are some hotels where they could lose their job. In Atlanta, you know, if you stay there real late at night, they have books. The valet and the have books, and they'll pull a book out of all of the girls that are for sale, or boys, and that they can have them sent up discreetly to your room. And so there are definitely hotels where you could lose your job for that. And so, you know, if we sense that, and if that is an issue, that's something that needs to be reported to law enforcement, because that's a hotbed. You know, that's somewhere where the pimps feel safe.
The other thing that I learned in doing this was to encourage the hotels to have very good relationships with local law enforcement so that they can work together on it. And it's not like they're going to come in blazing with their guns and lights and everything, but they send the police in discreetly to check out what's really going on. But it's that relationship building that I think is key to a lot of the things that we do in general, but certainly in this regard.
Pre-COVID, I had a dream. And I told the congregation of the Sisters of St. Joseph actually gave us the seed money to start the app. And I told them, I said, this is my next step. I want the Trinity. I want the Trinity. So I want hotels to be in contact with law enforcement and have a solid contact there, not just a number they call in, but a person or people to be in contact with a safe house in every city, so that we have that Trinity, so that everybody's working together and they know where to go next. And it's one fluid motion. So that's kind of my hope for the future, is that one day I'll have enough time and we'll get working on the Trinities in the different city.
I do have a point that I might make, is that so many people don't trust the police, though. I don't know how many times I've made a post and they're like, oh, yeah, right, I'm going to go to the police. And that's where I feel like anonymity is really important to convey. And I wondered if your TraffickCam app is connected with the Polaris, the National Human Trafficking Resource Center, and the 1-800 number, because I think if people think they can call in or text in or do something anonymously, that your reporting might go up as well.
So we do share that number. I don't know if we share that specific number on there. There is a number and contact instructions. Yeah, the 888 numbers on there, and Be Free is on there for text as well.
Mhm.
They're not wrong about law enforcement. It's not all law enforcement, but they're not wrong. The pimps or the traffickers teach them to be afraid of law enforcement. That's just part of their grooming and their conditioning. And be honestly, some of the law enforcement is corrupt in certain areas, and they're not wrong about that. So they should be afraid of the law enforcement. That's just part of the game. And that's where finding that one contact, that one person that they know they can call, and they know that will take them to the safe place. That's what I think is so important.
I know.
And also, go ahead.
Oh, I know we're coming up close on time, but I know Mary Lechtenberg, you had 2 things to add, and then I think I'll let Sister Ann Victory decide about wrap.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm in Dubuque, Iowa, with the Tri-State Coalition Against Human Trafficking. We purchase an ad with our local newspaper, who publishes, I think, at least twice a year, but it was in the spring edition when people were making their vacation plans. And we purchased a half-page ad that encouraged people to, when they make their reservations for their hotels or motels, to ask the question, has your staff been trained in the signs of human trafficking? And if not, they just said, well, I'm sorry, I can't stay with you. And maybe you all do that too. The state of Iowa also has said that any government guests for the state, for the government, must stay in lodgings where the employees have been trained in the signs of human trafficking, or they do not get reimbursed. Okay, so there's a financial element of that. A year ago, February, and I may have shared this a year ago, our sheriff and law enforcement created, I guess you say created, a sting, and 11 men were arrested for prostitution. Now, that's related to human trafficking, but anyway, the good news for us is that it made the front page headlines 2 days in a row. So people who say it's not happening here, and we've had police say it's not happening here, we don't have any calls about this. And we're just, it just undoes everything we've done for 9 years. But to have the pictures of these 11 men on the front page with their names, their ages, their hometowns, how much money they handed over. It was a sting, and no one was hurt in it, but wow. And the local newspaper cooperated, because I talked to the sheriff, Joe Kennedy, and he said, well, we gave heads up to the newspaper a couple days ahead, said, don't publish anything until, this, because the operation took 2 days. And so anyway, that's our news here. We're having an event in October where we've invited city officials, law enforcement from the surrounding area, from the tri-state area, even the little towns that have 500 people. And we have 2 people from the state who are going to Zoom in, who do training of law enforcement. It's not just us white-haired old ladies, telling the men in the police department about this issue. So we're hoping that that we get a good turnout, and then this will feed into a conference we're going to have in February. So thanks for the time.
Amazing work.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Such rich sharing and ideas on what we might be able to continue to do together. And special thanks to Kimberly and Christina for being with us today. Claire for being with us today, to get a sense of what we're able to do if we work together, and appreciate this new knowledge. So we have a few